Hopefully people can hear me all right. Test, 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 test. I don't know. Hopefully can people Can you guys hear me all right? Please let me know in the chat. Hi, can you guys hear me all right? Can you guys hear me? Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. How's everyone doing? My hair is having its own field day today. Guys, it's finally October. Can you believe it already? The year has flown by so fast. Uh, is it cold where you guys are at already? I think because I live here in LA County, it's okay. It's like there's a slight breeze, but it's not as cold as it used to be. I used to live in Colorado and we would at least get the 4 seasons. I think Colorado, I would say, is pretty good, but it doesn't, I don't know. It also has its own, like, fun weather stuff too. It's never cold in Arizona. It's still hot in Texas. Well, I'm gonna be going out to Salem real soon, so that's gonna be really exciting. I'll let you guys know all about it. Here in Pasadena, they just did the 40th Halloween 45. So it apparently happens every 5 years, but it is a whole convention, at least from what I gathered, based off of the Halloween franchise. And of course, I don't know if any of you guys watch Halloween every year around this time, but I know for me, like we at least do every year watch Halloween, the movie. Um, but the Ouija board, yes, I'll have to check it out. Thank you, Silent Raven, for letting me know about that. What do I need to look out for when I go out there? Because I've never been, don't know what's out there. I know that they're doing a couple of big events this year for the month of October. And again, I'm excited. I've always wanted to go. And yeah, fun thing about that. There's also I've always wanted to see like Sleepy Hollow. I've always wanted to see like I know there's like I think the is it the Stephen King house out there in the East Coast. So a couple different things that I wanted to check out. I'm not sure if I'll be able to see everything, but I'm gonna try. Yeah, definitely. I definitely. What are your guys' movies that you watched this year, might I add? And I also got to see Five Nights at Freddy's. And let me tell you, I have thoughts. I'm not gonna spoil anything right now. I'm not sure if anyone's looking forward to seeing that movie. Um, but I got to see it. Five Nights at Freddy's, yes. Uh, let me see what it's coming out at the end of October, so I got to see it, yeah. I only saw it a little bit early, I got a glimpse of it a little earlier than usual, um, but I okay, here's my thing. I can see why they added extra things because it got converted to film, right? Because in the game, I don't know if anyone has played the game or knows about the game, I'm sure you guys do, because it's about, like, a security guard up night and they're not allowed to fall asleep and they're supposed to try to like trap the animatronics. Yes, I got an early screening on it. So I got to see it a little bit. I I enjoyed it. It was cute. Like I think that like if you go into it and you don't know about the game or anything like that, I'm sure people are going to enjoy it, but if you've played the game, I think you're going to have thoughts on it. That's all I got to say. I guess we'll recontinue this conversation at the end of the month where you get to tell me all about what you think of it if you guys get to see it. Um, it's just interesting because, like, when I went to the screening, a lot of people, they watched it, and surprisingly, they've never played the games or anything like that. I was very surprised. I'm like, "Wow, there's a lot of people here that are gonna write about this film, and they haven't even played the game." That's a little concerning. So I hope that they at least watched the film and also got to play the game, because then they'll understand a little bit more the setup of the film and the elements that they could have added in the film. Um, so what would I rate it? Oh gosh. Okay, but okay, it's hard because I really want you guys to watch it, but I don't want to say, oh, it's not good, because it was good, right? Like, once again, they added extra elements because in a way, the game in itself is, I can see it being hard to convert to a film alone with just the elements of the game, if that makes sense. Um, oh gosh, I'll say a 7 out of 10. Maybe I need to watch it again and to see if it goes up. I'm gonna give it a 7. So, I don't know. Uh, yeah. Wait, what's on Hulu, Tanya? I did, yes, Stranger Things. I love the last season of Stranger Things. Um, I enjoyed it so much, and then I know that Blair and I, she's the podcast host, we got to go to Rome, Georgia, and um we did an investigation of the Creel House, which is where they filmed, in the last season of Stranger Things, Vecna's house, and we got something, so if you guys wanna go back and watch that, feel free to do so. It was really good. Blair did a really good job, and I know that there's other videos coming out for Fright Scene, so make sure you check it out, and then have I seen the new Spider-Man, the multiverse one? Sorry, my cat's in here. The multiverse one. I loved it, though. Yes. Fright Scene, yes, which shoes do you mean? The new Goosebumps series with Justin Long. Is it, Tanya? Oh my god, thank you. I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for that because I really wanna see it. I really, really, really wanna see it. Um, During the pandemic, I got to sit down with R.L. Stein, and he talked about, like, his process in writing books. There was a really good question someone had on there. They asked him, "When you write books, when you write your stories, like, do you ever keep in mind that these are gonna ever get converted to a movie? Like, do you write books for movies, or where does the inspiration come from?" And he was saying, "No, like, when I write something, I just," I guess he gets into a trance, like, he sits down, he writes these stories, and it just by the time everything time passes, the book is done and there it is. Like, he doesn't really put much thought. Like, that's really cool, I think, that he just sits down, starts writing, and then boom, there it is. There is a story with the plot and everything, and he just lets it come to him. And I don't know if you guys are any creatives in the chat here, but so for context, I used to draw, and I used to draw comic books and stuff, but I never shared it to anybody. I was always very shy about it. And I I would let it come to me too. Like, I didn't really, like, sit there and have this meticulous plan or anything like that. I would just let it come. And so when he was talking about that, I was like, that's a really cool way of talking about his process, because as someone who's written so many books and a lot of his stories have become movies, you would think that he might have, like, this meticulous process or advice for people to, stay ahead or, whatever. But no, he really doesn't, and it's kinda cool hearing him say that. I have seen the trailer and I've seen the film. Lauren Jones says, "I don't know if you answer questions like this, but what was your most paranormal experience?" Um, Gosh, my most recent one, well, so I host psychic development circles here in LA, and, we were at one of the not bookshops, one of the shops, and we had, one of the students there, and we were picking up, so my husband was the one that, like, gave the reading, 'cause we're in a circle, so we all kinda, like, pitch in what we're picking up on, and he started picking up on this lady's deceased husband. The minute that someone else picked up the name, we could hear knocking on the wall, and the on this the where the knocking came from, nobody was on that side of the room, and that wall is facing the front of the shop, so it's not like there's a building connected to it, it's not like there's a room connected to it, but we heard the knocking as, like, confirmation that the husband was there. So, that's, like, my most recent one, but I think the experience that really took me back was when I went to Tombstone, Arizona earlier this year, and we got to do a guided paranormal investigation with these 2 Navajo, paranormal brothers, Hero and Jacqueline, and, we were at the cemetery, Boot Hill Cemetery, and, the polterscript, so I think I have it. Yes, I have a polterscript right here. So this is like a device I use, and it basically generates words for you. It's like receiving a text message from a spirit, and, in the polterscript, when we were at the Boot Hill Cemetery, the name kept saying David, and I have a TikTok on this, and made a short video on this, and I think we posted it on the Something Scary platforms, but, it said David, and my husband asked out loud, "Who's David?" And Hero, he looked very, like, shocked, and he's like, "I'm David. That's, like, my birth name." So once we got that confirmation, and then it said, "Fight me." And, Hero was saying that throughout this trip in Boot Hill, there was a spirit that kept trying to get him to fight him. Um, so that was really that was I was very taken back by that experience. That was wild to me. So, that's one that was, like, meh, but, um, I love making comic Blue Flame says, "I love making comic books. The mine are more based on dinosaurs and stuff." Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Have I seen The Nun too? My rating is 7 out of 10, but I want to know what you think. You know, I actually would also rate it a 7 out of 10 or even, like, maybe an 8 if I'm being, like, nice, but I I enjoyed it. Okay, so here's the thing, I need to see the first one. I heard the first one was better, which naturally that happens all the time, and that's why I think I have a really high rating for this most recent film that I got to see, because I got invited to the screening, and I was like, "Man, I haven't seen the film, I should have watched it." And I know it's part of, like, the Conjuring universe, and The Conjuring is really like, the franchise in itself is really interesting. So, for somebody that didn't see the first one and going into it the second time, I was able to catch up to speed on the storyline, and I think that's not bad. I think it might be good or bad depending on, like, the perspective, right? Like, if you're somebody that's watched the first film and then you watch the second film, you're like, "Wow," you can already pick up on all the stuff. But for me, I was able to feel like I didn't miss too much. And then the second thing is, I guess what I really like too is that they did a really good job at, like, making you jumpy. Some people didn't like that, some people thought it was very basic, but for me, like, I jumped a few different times while watching the film, so I think that's pretty good indicator that it was entertaining, that it did spook me out here and there. Towards the end, it became a little bit outlandish, and that's where I would say we lose some points, but overall, it was entertaining. Would I rewatch it again? No, but I was entertained, and so that's why I give it that rating, and that's why it's not a 10 out of 10, if that hopefully that answers the question. Have you ever watched the ABC original movie that came out in the 1980s called them? I haven't, what's that one about, Tanya? Hopefully I'm saying your name right. Tanya or yeah, hopefully I'm saying it right. Um, so I did, yeah, Alba, I already watched it already, so I gave it a 7 out of 10. Saw yeah, I I was really bummed about that, so I got invited last minute to the Saw movie, and uh, I think, like, they got a capacity, so I didn't get a chance to watch it, but you know what? I've actually heard a lot of good things about that film, so I'm really excited to see that. Um Not sure if anyone else has seen it yet. Has anyone seen the movie came out already, right? Has anyone seen it? I know earlier this year for Midsummer Screams, it's like a one of the biggest, like, horror Halloween cons here in LA Count well, no, it's in Long Beach, I lied, in Long Beach, and, they had a whole activation. I didn't get to do that one, but there was a big line for the activation this year. So, I don't know, I maybe am I missing out? So, I don't know. Okay. Let's see, what else am I missing here? Thank you, Rolando, thank you for the stories, thank you. I'm sorry, I don't know who Cor I mean, I might have seen him on the chat a few times, but I don't know that person personally, why do you ask? Never seen it? Yeah. Well, there's like a yeah, see, Saw is like it's what I find interesting about Saw is that the budget for the first film was a very low budget film, and, like, for what they spent, it became a big hit, and I find that really fascinating about, like, just in general, like, horror movies, scary movies, that you don't need a big budget to make something really scary, and I think that's one thing I really like about this genre of film in particular, is that it's more about, like in a way, there's subtle messaging on society in current times, and I love that, like, while there's so many movies nowadays that spend so much money with, like, special effects, like, can we be real? Sometimes special effects are not always the best. It's interesting. I think there was, like, a TikTok on this, and I don't remember all the details, but they spend so much money or a decent amount of money for special effects, and sometimes you'll see these movies, and you're like, "These special effects are not all of that." Like, it's not great. It's like, okay, like, even Jurassic Park I love Jurassic Park, okay? We're talking about dinosaurs in the chat, and I feel like Jurassic Park, for example, it stood with the test of time, and, they didn't use all these special effects the way they do now, and that you know what I mean? Like, I wish they would have done that right. Oh, okay, well, thank you for letting me know, Blue Fame. Yeah, I love Jurassic Park. It's great, yeah. Okay, okay, Elva. Yeah, so I wish I understand, like, there's, like, this whole polarity and all these discussions on, like, why do they use special effects? Why they don't? But I don't know, I mean, I wish that they would just stick to more, like, props and all this stuff and whatnot. Yeah. Okay, and okay, so now that I talked about the Halloween convention, the other convention that also happened on the same weekend was the horror con, and you know what was the highlight of that, you guys? So I met the writer from Tales from the Crypt. So I was like walking around, and it's like a smaller convention. I don't know if this was the first year or not, but it was in the LA convention area. And um, overall they had a pretty good like I think overall there was a lot of cool stuff. They had like a little selfie museum there. They had like performances there. They had vendors there, and they also had pretty decent panels. But as I was walking around, I saw this booth, and it just had like Tales from the Crypt, and they had this little like TV in the back. And I stopped because I'm like a huge I love Tales from the Crypt, okay? I don't know if anyone here is like does know what I'm talking about, but I own the books. So there had these books, and the first book was a Crypt Keeper, and then that got converted into comic book series, and then the TV show series of like I believe the 90s and whatnot. And anyway, so I saw the booth, and I was like, "What is this?" And so I stopped and I looked at it, and he's like, "You're probably too young to know what it is, but, like, we worked on the show Tales from the Crypt." And I'm like, "I love that show. I own all of the seasons to that. What?" And so he was like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." So when I was a kid, because I have a 10-year difference between myself and my sisters, and my one of my older sisters, she would watch the show, and my dad would be like, Don't let Stephanie watch this." But then I would, like, sneak in and I would watch it. And so I watched the shows with her. And so anyway, like, we were talking I was talking with the guy, the writers, apparently, like, he it was one of the producers and one of the writers that were there, and I was very blown away by that. I was like, "What? That is so cool." So, yeah, that's what happened, and it's just interesting to me because here we are full circle, something that I've been a huge fan of. They apparently have a podcast, called How Not to Make a Movie, or yeah, How Not to Make a Movie or something like that, but apparently he has, like, a podcast, and, the panel was all about, like, how, they worked on the show, they did movies, and, like, all like, some of the disasters that went behind the scenes. But anyway, I always thought I don't know if anyone else thought this, but when I would ever watch The Crypt Keeper, I would think to myself, "Man, the whoever's writing these, like, punchlines, like, they have to, like, spitfire these out because 'cause they're so many episodes for years, like, and unique ones too, so I don't know." Good night, Lauren. No, I haven't. I have not watched Raising Dion. Um, do you ever yes, I've actually made videos for BuzzFeed. I've been on BuzzFeed Unsolved. So, yeah, I'm really familiar with the brand. Um, so yeah, fun stuff. Yeah, good night. Good night, Lauren. Have a good night. That's funny. Just thinking about, like, Tales from the Crypt guy. So yeah, that happened this weekend too, and yeah, I'm, like, getting so dehydrated. I keep drinking, like, caffeine, and I'm like, "I'm dehydrated. I need to have water." I live in New Zealand, so it is currently 3 PM. Is it? Oh my goodness. Will you watch Exorcist: The Believer? Okay, so I got to see that too. I got to see the screening for that. I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan. I'm sorry. I wasn't a fan. Here's my thing. I feel a certain way about Exorcist movies. I'm not somebody that's gonna, like, watch them and go out of my way to watch exorcism movies. I just don't like them. Um, yeah, I think everyone has, like, a theme within, like, the scary movie genre, and, there's things that people will or will not watch. Some people, it's like slashers or gore, blah, 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 you know? But for me, it's like, I don't really like exorcist movies, but because Five Nights at Freddy's and The Exorcist were back to back, I did get to see that one, and I wasn't a fan. I don't know. They could have done so much with it. They could have done so much with it. But if you like the formula of exorcism movies, and what I mean by that is, like, someone gets possessed, they get religious, they exorcise the demonic thing out of that person, then you'll like this film. But I truly think that they could have done something really new and unique for what they had in terms of the cast in this film, and they did not bring it. They did not bring it. I was pretty bummed about it. So, but if you wanna watch again, we're probably gonna be doing another live at the end of this month, so feel free, we're having an early discussion. Feel free to watch these films, and we can recontinue the conversation at the end of the month. Hi, Drew. Have you ever been to any haunted places in I would love to have go. Oh my gosh, Blair got to travel out in your out to Europe recently. I think she did something. Um, Don't quote me on that, but I know she got to go to some really cool places out there in Europe, and it's part of the Fright Scene, series that she has going on, and it's gonna be posted on this platform, so stay tuned for that, but, yeah, no, she's done some really cool stuff with that. Is that the serial killer that you drew? She was, like, a kid or something like that? Hi, Jinzel. Thank you. I watched Barbie. Come on, come on. I just I feel like I scream more Barbie. Um, my favorite movie of all time, that's a hard one. Are we just speaking of any movie? It doesn't matter what like what genre? Because I feel like that's hard. Oh my goodness. First of all, I will say I'm a huge Studio Ghibli fan. I love and own all of those films. Um, and I've been doing a whole dive on that. Actually, since I've been doing a whole dive on this, I've been thinking about this. I don't know if we have any anime fans here in the chat. But wait, what? If you is it bad I watched both? Both what? What do you watch? Um, so I know I love Studio Ghibli films, but I recently started doing a deep dive on like anime because a lot of anime, especially like like Inuyasha, for example, there's been a lot for I know I'm getting all my words twisted here, but there's like spirituality, the occult, paranormal stuff associated with some of these shows. And there are shows that I definitely grew up with and like used to stay up really late at night to watch. Like I used to watch Inuyasha, Yu Yu Hakusho, um, and of course the Studio Ghibli films. And there's also Hellsing. So I did all of these like stories on it. And recently, I was like watching the film and I'm like, man, the Yubaba reminds me of a lechusa, and we done a story on the channel of, like, lechusa, and I was like, "Man, no one's ever really said this before." So, because we know that Yubaba she turns into well, she doesn't turn, but she has, like, that she puts a cloak on, and she starts to fly in the sky, and she looks like a she is a witch, and she looks like a bird, and she's flying in the sky, and she's a really big bird. And, for, like, Mexican and parts of, like, Latin America, they've had stories of a shape-shifting witch that turns into a bird or an owl, and they steal children. So, anyway, I just thought that was so interesting, and, like, when I did the whole deep dive on that film, I realized that, like, yes, they have this whole thing, like, in Japan, because I think, like, her Yubaba's origins it's not I think it wasn't specified, but there's this whole lore in Japanese folklore where there's, like, this mountain full of, like, witches that, like, Yubaba, I think is, like, technically that's what she is. But I was, thinking about doing another video on that. But regardless of that, it just made me think of, like, man, how come no one never made that connection before? Maybe because I just, have always been into folklore and I'm Hispanic, it just kinda came to me. And yes, I do speak Spanish. I do. Um no, it's not bad at all. I just didn't get a chance to see Oppenheimer, but I heard good things about those films, so you're totally fine. What does something scary have in store? Well, I know right now Blair's working on Fright Scene, and we're also trying to do some collaborations with other content creators. So stay tuned for that. If you have anybody that you would love to see us do a collaboration with, please let us know in the chat. Like, I would love to know who you guys are watching and would love for us to reach out and do some type of collaboration, whether it's a live stream, whether it's a story together or anything like that. I would love to get your guys' thoughts on that. But we did reach out to a couple of people already. Um, I do have pets. I have a cat. I have 2 cats. I recently had a dog who passed away due to cancer. Um, but we do have another dog, so, now it's 1 dog and 2 cats. But, yeah, I have a couple of pets. Oh, we also have a tortoise, that we inherited with this house, um, which is interesting. When we, bought our house and we did the viewing prior, we didn't see the tortoise. It wasn't until we were filling out the paperwork, and in the paperwork, they're like, "If you agree to move into this house, do you wanna inherit a tortoise?" And we're like, "Wait, what?" And then, the reason why we didn't see the tortoise was because he was hibernating in the backyard, and yeah. But now he's great. He's a great asset. I love the fact that we have a tortoise here. Did you see any I did see Nuyasha, yeah, JoJo Bizarre Adventures. It was yeah, yeah, I mean, that's just me because I don't really like exorcist movies, but please feel free to check it out and let me know. The Nun 2 was really yeah, see, like, I don't know, because for me, like, I thought it was The Nun 2 was entertaining, but I can see why people didn't like it either, though, that's the thing. A picture of my pets? Oh gosh, I'd have to dig through a lot of things. Um, right now, my cat is on the like, by my bookcase sleeping, but I don't wanna disturb her. Um Maybe we can post it on the account or something. Tanya says, "No." Oh my god, No Sleep. I love No Sleep. Scared to Death. I don't think I know them. I would love to do something with Mr. Ballin. Oh my god, listen. I think we're on the same. I would love to do a collaboration with Mr. Ballin. I have a really nice story about him. So when I was starting off doing TikToks back in 2020, I think I was at like only 2,000 followers on TikTok at the time under my Steffany Strange account, and I had, I think, like, either tagged him or something on there, but he went into my video that I one of my videos that I did, and he commented, and he was like, "Oh my god, keep up the great work," and he followed me, so we've been mutuals since I've been having 2,000 subscribers on TikTok and stuff, but I know that he's not really on TikTok anymore, and he went over to the YouTube side, and now he has, like, all these podcasts, and he's amazing. He's such a nice person, so hopefully we could I would love to do a collaboration with him. Like, oh my gosh, that's up there. Um, well, Angel should get your hands checked. Definitely get your hands checked. Um, yeah, definitely. Scared to Death. Are they a podcast? Let me just I'm gonna jot these down. The tortoise, yes. I do yes, my tortoise's name is Koopa, and he's a desert tortoise. He's not he luckily, he doesn't get because I have you guys ever seen the sulcata tortoises where they're, like, huge? They're, like they get to be, like, as big as, like, a table or something, I don't know. Um, oh, thank you, Tanya, thank you, I will definitely keep that in mind. Thank you. I've, like, been trying to keep track of a lot of things, but yeah, so we're trying to do a couple of collaborations, and I know with, like, Fright Scene, there's a couple of things on there too and whatnot. Koopa, yeah, Koopa, like, from, Mario, Super Mario, or, like, the Mario for, Nintendo. Do I know any other YouTubers? We've had Brittany Crab on one of the live streams. So, last year around this time, Brittany and I and another investigator, Sarah, we got to do a Halloween special for the CW, and it aired last year, and that's how I met her, and we did a live together on this platform. So, yeah, it was great. She was very, very sweet, and I'm glad that we got to work with her, and we have a couple of other people that we're trying to get on who are also YouTubers, and hopefully we'll go from there. But if you have any other things. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I do. I do know them. I think I told you already, I worked with BuzzFeed before, so yes, I'm familiar with their stuff. Um, but yes, trying to think of who else we could work. I know I've met the Ghost Girls. They're, 2 lovely ladies who also paranormal investigate. They were based here in LA, but they recently moved to Texas, I think, or somewhere else. I don't know where they moved. They moved to a different state. But yeah, we would love to have other people that we could collaborate with in the spooky season or even, like, after the spooky season, if you guys have any other recommendations. But again, always happy to hear your thoughts. I don't know if you guys have anybody else in mind too. Hi, Elvie. How are you? I love the froggy the froggy emojis. I love that so much. Um, also, you know what's been really cool? Speaking of, like, every time I think of the froggy, I think of, like, Keroppi. Keroppi's right behind me. I'm a big Sanrio person, and you wanna know something? I feel like Sanrio has really stepped it up in terms of their Halloween stuff. I have, like, these, like, Sanrio, like, overalls. They're so well, they're Hot Topic, but they have, like, all the Sanrio characters or most of them on there. Avery? Oh my god, I'll have to check her out. Thank you. Thank you for the recommendations. I always love knowing about, like, other peeps that we can check out. Yes, I live in LA County. Hollow Sanrio. Hollow Sanrio, exactly. Exactly. Hollow Sanrio. Let's see. I want to know if I hopefully didn't miss anything. Oh yeah, no sleep. I think I mentioned that already. Yeah, I mean, other than that, I think that's so far what we have going on. Also, I don't know, did you guys watch the most recent video we posted? It was on the I think like for Hispanic Heritage Month. Let me just pop it open. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Yes, so we have the video up. It is called Run from the Screams, The Weeping Wagon, La Careta Chiona. So yeah, we did that video and I was really excited about that one because it's like a Salvadorian based folklore. But if you guys have any other stories that you guys want us to cover, I know right now it's like Hispanic Awareness Month or all of that's jazz. So hopefully if you guys have any recommendations that you would love to see us do, I think we would love to continue any other stories. I mean, that's one thing that I love about this platform is that we try to cover as many stories that you don't ever hear about from different places around the world. So, hi, crazies. How are you? Yeah, we're trying to cover a couple of these other videos. And I was really excited about that video. We've done a couple of other, we did another one, I think earlier this year, and that was for La Lechuza. We did that one earlier this year, and I really enjoyed that one as well. So there's that. Let's see. Give me 1 second. What are my pets' names? So my corgi, he is named Luigi, from like Luigi's Haunted Mansion. So I have Koopa and Luigi. My dog that recently passed away, his name was Yoshi. So overall, I was naming them after all of the Mario, Super Nintendo characters, because that's just like what I love very much and what my childhood right there. And my cats though don't have uh, those type of names. Um, and so I had Min Min and I have Katie. Katie is my mom's cat. She's on disability. So, Katie's now part of our family. So Katie is her name and I love them all very much. Yeah, Yoshi was his name. And yeah, I don't know. It was just good time. Good time. And we were gonna name we weren't sure what to it was really hard coming up with a name for Luigi, but I was like, you know what? We I'm a spooky person. Luigi's on Imagine. Luigi, he's technically a paranormal investigator. We gotta continue this. And so we did. It was great. You know what? I've It's grown on me more and more. And I think it's a unique little name. I love it. I love it very much. I don't know if you guys have any pets. You guys can let me know too. What have you named your pets? Um, I feel like I'm sure you guys would have pretty fun names for your pets, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like you guys would. I feel like you guys would have a fun crowd of names for your pets, but I don't know. Minnie for my Chihuahua. Oh, I love that. I love that very much. Coco, my cat's name is Coco. Oh, Coco Chanel. I love that. See, these are fun. These are a lot of fun names on there. You have to say in Spanish. I see. So I do have a couple of stories that I could read to you guys as well if you want me to read on a live. This was done not too long ago, but I'm happy to do something. My dog's name is Luna and Sol and Canelo and Tiny, but in Spanish. Sugar for my cat that I have now, a dog named Fluffy, and have a cat. Oh, I love these names. You guys have really good names. That's awesome. These are fun. I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know what you mean by that. I'm sorry. Wait, what? I don't know what you mean. All right. I think I'm going to read one of the stories. This is like from the podcast. I haven't read it. I know it was read on the podcast, but I will read it. So this one is the lead in. I will reread some of the stories for the last couple of minutes. You cannot believe everything you read on the internet, or it may drive you insane, like in this story written by Janine Pipe. Becca took a deep breath. This was really happening. Not only was it really happening because she had orchestrated the entire thing and made it happen, this was the big moment. Only it was absolutely typical that now she was starting to wonder what the hell she had gotten herself into. You see, Becca was sitting in the Burrington Town Library at 2 a.m. with a man she only knew as Voorhees Fan 83. That was his username. Unable to see the power since they had broken in and couldn't have anyone know they were there, they lit a couple of candles just to be able to guide them. They sat down together on the floor. Between them was a book, a quill, and a knife. Becca had watched Voorhees Fan 83 cut his hand and write his name using the quill and blood on a page of the book. She repeated the process, wincing as the blade opened her skin. It hurt a lot more than she expected. She too wrote her name and sat back, nursing her hand. The man, who of course she had met online, looked at her and nodded. He reached for the knife and held it over the book. Then they both spoke. Becca, a little shakily, "What is the most powerful weapon?" As soon as they said weapon, Voorhees Fan 83 plunged the knife into the book, and they waited and waited. At 3:20 a.m., her legs stiff from sitting on the cold, tilted tiled floor, and the candles almost burned down, Becca announced she was done. The ritual had to be over by 4 a.m. anyway, and her strange Reddit pal had offered to take away the book and the quill and burn them. Voorhees Fan 83's facial expression hadn't changed since they met outside the library just before midnight, and it remained nonplussed now, even as Becca asked, "I don't feel more clever, do you?" He just shrugged his shoulders, packed up the stuff, and headed towards the floor. The ritual was supposed to have brought them the power of knowledge bestowed by an entity known only as the librarian. If done correctly, Becca was now meant to be able to remember all the tiny details she needed to ace her finals. She was now supposed to be able to pluck obscure references out of thin air to impress the panel at her college interview. But she didn't feel any different. She tried to recall all the items on the periodic table or list in order the Roman emperors, but drew a blank. Damn, this was so and gasp. The candle suddenly puffed out and she stood for a second. Except something to finally expecting something to finally click to make breaking in and pulling the stunt worth it. But she realized her quiet partner in crime had opened the back door, causing a breeze. She picked up the stubby, waxy remains and headed out of the library. Her odd companion was gone, but that hadn't been the arrangement. As per the very strict rules of the ritual, they could never contact each other ever again. Becca raced home and somehow was able to fall into the restless sleep for the remaining few hours until school. She wasn't sure if it was fatigue, her hands still throbbing from the knife, or distraction, but she managed to screw up a pop quiz and she could have found easy. And by the time she headed home after hockey practice, she was certain the whole thing had been a total waste of time and not at all worth the amount of trouble they could have gotten in. Usually, Becca rather enjoyed the walk and seeing the sun in the sky, but today she felt out of sorts. The feeling of being unable to focus was getting worse. She had chalked it up to maybe disappointment. Sure, it was just tiredness that was causing her head to start pounding and her chest to tighten. Becca stopped closing her eyes in pain. When she opened them, she quickly turned around to make sure no one was watching, since she should have been embarrassed. And that was when she noticed something very odd. She looked up at the sun and back down to the sidewalk again. The oddity was still there. Despite her head feeling like someone was stabbing tiny daggers in her brain, she walked quickly, and when she was on the next street, she looked again. It was still there. Becca ran home, heart hammering, and it followed. It seemed the ritual hadn't been a complete failure. She may have not been bequeathed by the elevated mental powerness she wished for, but the librarian had manifested. That was clear now. You see, Becca had a double shadow. One silhouette, of course, was herself, but the tall, thin, solid one beside it was not. The new, tethered shadow watched, waiting. Becca knew the likely consequences of this constant, unwanted extension of herself. It could only lead to one place: insanity. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it's oh my gosh, it's, midnight f you have to wait till midnight. Oh, no. Where are you located, if you don't mind asking? Do I have a name for my doll, Alice? I do not. I don't know, but it's interesting about the story is that I had gone to this estate sale, and I kinda, like, intuitively knew to go up to the closet on the 2nd floor, like, I something was calling for me. And there was this box, and I still have the box, never been opened. And when I like asked, I said, "Can I open this? I kind of feel like this is for me." And so when I opened it, it was an Alice in Wonderland doll, and I love Alice in Wonderland. Oh, hello there. I'm sorry that I didn't see the notification of your live stream. What did you miss? Nothing. We were talking about movies coming up this month, and I read one of the scary stories. I'll read another story. So this one is called Infectious Delusion, and this was read by our other host, Blair, on the podcast side, but I will read it here for you guys. This was done a while ago. Doctors are so desensitized to the pain and anguish of the sick. When they become the patient themselves, it can drive them mad, like in this story inspired by Liam. I was the head of the psychiatric ward in a historic asylum that had been established sometime between the 1830s and the 1840s. One of my highly schizophrenic patients was complaining of deafening tapping anytime he took a step. I had just assumed it was another one of his quite frequent delusions, and shortly thereafter, he claimed to be deaf and could hear absolutely nothing. I found this odd because of the fast change of complaints. He went from screaming at the top of his lungs to begging on his knees for a sound, any sound. One of my coworkers concurred that the patient exhibited deafness in both ears, and then something peculiar occurred. I decided to observe the patient in the room. The moment I stepped into the room and closed the door, his eyes darted in my direction. I attempted to begin a conversation with him, but he was unresponsive. Suddenly, he stood up and made his way towards me at a rapid pace. Faster than I could call for backup, he sunk his teeth into my shoulder. With some oddly cold with some oddly colored saliva dripping from his mouth. I pushed him back and yelled in agony. The attack strong enough to have broken the skin, and security ran in and restrained him. However, before they could muzzle him, he said something that shook me to my core. "You're next, doctor." He then began to giggle. I rolled my eyes to seem nonchalant, but my heart was pounding in my chest. After taking a few sips of water in the lounge to calm my nerves, I made my way to the exit. I couldn't get those words out of my mind. Your next doctor. What did it mean? I headed to my car, putting my keys in the ignition, and I attempted to start it. That's 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 when weird stuff. Oh, whoops. That is weird, I thought to myself. I looked at the gas meter. You've got to be kidding me, I said, punching the dashboard in frustration. The tank was completely empty. Well, looks like I'm walking back home, I thought to myself. I took the keys out of the ignition, dropped them in my pocket, and began walking home. Out of nowhere, a tapping noise started. I just thought it was one of those nighttime sounds. Then I realized that it was in synchronicity with my steps. If I stopped walking, the noise would stop and would restart when I continued walking. I also came to the realization that the closer I got to my house, the louder it became. The words of the patient from before suddenly popped back in my mind. Was I experiencing one of my patient's illusions? No, that's impossible, right? The sound continued growing. I was nearly deaf by now. My head was thumping from sheer vibrations in my body. I fell to the floor, uncertain of when this torture would end. All I could do was lay on the floor, withering in pain. I couldn't handle it anymore. I screamed and I screamed and I screamed until my throat stung. My screams turned into sobs and desperation as I was begged to escape this nightmare. Then, as quickly as it arrived, the noise disappeared. There was no sound and there was no tapping. It was just complete silence. I cried joyously as I clapped my hands, expecting a deafening explosion in my ears, but there was nothing. I dropped a fragile vase, watching the pieces fly across the floor, but nothing. Panic set in. I desperately tried to create noise, even hurting myself to try and produce a sound, but nothing. I threw glass objects at my walls and nothing. I turned the TV and the stereo on full volume and nothing. My brain was moving at a million miles a minute. What was happening? Why can I suddenly hear absolutely nothing? In my terror, I thrashed the house in my attempts to create a noise, all in vain. There was only silence. In my fury, I spun around and saw a man in my doorway, my neighbor Ollie. He looked around in shock and disbelief. He turned to see me stumbling towards him. Are you okay? It looked like he was mouthing. Speak, I cried. Speak! I didn't even know if I was making a sound. Ollie looked frightened, but also concerned, and it suddenly hit me. I knew what I had to do. The only way to get rid of it. Feeling the saliva pooling in my mouth, I lunged at Ollie, planting my teeth into his shoulder. He yelled in pain and fell to the ground, contorting to the most grotesque way imaginable. Relief washed over me as I listened to his pain, and I could hear it again. Ollie's wife appeared then. She took one glance inside, saw her husband, and screamed in terror. I grinned. I grinned. I could hear it. Her blood curdling cry. It was the most beautiful sound. I came to my senses quickly when I saw the pain in her eyes. I was filled with pity and regret. She didn't understand. She could never understand. But me, I was free. Oh, that was good. No, I don't have a VR. It is one of my top 5 favorite movies for sure. All right, guys. So we're here at the very last couple minutes of the live. I think we got some pretty good topics covered from, collaborations, movies coming up this month, scary stories. Um, Again, if you guys want to check out the most recent video, feel free. We did a video in for Hispanic Awareness Month. And yeah, that's all there is. I think Angel, you're trolling. You've been trolling this whole time. Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Monopon. Oh my god. Well, hopefully next time. I know this live stream was done a little bit late because we were supposed to do a live last week, but to be honest with you guys, with my dog having cancer and we had to, put him down, it just wasn't a good week for me last week if I'm being completely honest. So, I'm taking it day by day though. So there's that. And yeah, I mean, but we're gonna try to probably do another we're gonna try to do another live stream towards the end of the month. So we might have 2 live streams this month. I'm not sure, but we'll try. Shout out to Animation Stories. You're from India. That's awesome. Hello. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, if again, feel free to comment or let me know. Oh dear, I'm so sorry to hear about that. Oh no, Mr. Wampon, I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, it's when our fur babies pass, it's always we're never ready to really say goodbye to them. Um, for me, you know, finding out that my dog had cancer was one of the hardest things to ever come to reality with, because I don't think people tell you. They tell you can find resources online about what it's like to have a pet with cancer, but the diagnosis process was incredibly hard. I'm really grateful for we had so much support though. I briefly had a GoFundMe, and that was I'm so emotional, I think about that. I had so much support. Anyone who shared, donated, thank you so much. It meant a lot because the thing is, like, especially if you have insurance for dogs, they may not cover it, or they expect you to have that money up front, and then the insurance will then give you maybe a portion of that money. So that was one of the most helpful processes. We're still paying off a lot though, just to even get the diagnosis or even try to figure out what's wrong with my dog was at least five to $6,000. Um, but you know what? At the end of the day, like, we fought, my husband fought very hard to try to give him a second chance and get him where he needed to be. And yeah, I've been trying I want to make a post on that because I know a lot of people have pets, and it's really important for people to like know what that process is like. I wish there was more resources on it, but there wasn't. So anyway, but thank you guys for hearing me about that, and I'm sorry we couldn't do a live last week. That was what was happening. I just want to be transparent with you guys about it. But I'm taking it one step at a time, and I've had so much support and so much sweet people throughout this process. So I'm really, really, really grateful for anybody that's been helpful and has been understanding. So thank you so much. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna end the live. And thank you guys so much for being here tonight. This was a lot of fun. Love the show. What's your favorite something scary tale in the third So I don't know, honestly, but what I will say is that the one that I really enjoyed recently was the Salvadorian one that I pitched for the show, only because as a Salvadorian, like, I never get to hear stories that are from El Salvador, and we have a lot of good scary stories. I mean, a lot of Central America has really good stories, Latin America has good stories. Most of the stories you'll hear are like La Llorona, that's like, very popular Mexican folklore. I mean, but we have in Central America and even like other parts of Latin America, there is the weeping woman in other parts of, you know, that part of the world. So, but yeah, I love to hear a lot of these stories because, there's so many of us who are, consuming media, and there's not enough of these stories out there. And so I'm really happy that we got to do something like that. And that's one thing I love about the channel is that we get to share stories from around the world and try to get representation to other people's culture and where they stories that they might have heard growing up in different parts of the world. Hi from Ohio. The dump the dumpy I can't even say that. What is that one? There's a lot of crazy stuff in Ohio though. I'll say that much. But okay, I'm so sorry guys, but I think I'm gonna have to go. Um, Again, this is a lot of fun. And I know, hi Sky, we're gonna end the live though. But thank you guys so much. Where can I enter a story? I have a really good one, an Native American story. Oh my God, would love to hear your Native American story. So in all the description videos, we have our email. I believe it's, let me see if I can grab it for you real quick. But every description, all the description, um, let me just double check real quick. Something scary at snarled.com. So that's the email without the period. Yeah, there we go. um, so yeah, there's that's the email address. Feel free to email us, and I'm gonna get going though. Thank you so much, you guys. Have a good night.